Welcome back into another episode of Raptors Today. Basketball fans, Akil Augustine, and they keep putting us back together. They like the OG crew. It's happening. You got my boy Sherman at the end. We got Unc Paul Jones, and unfortunately, we have a Raptors loss to talk about. But still, some important information to glean as this team continues to push past the Scotty Barnes injury. Let's talk about RJ, though, because after that Knicks game, everybody wanted to have a referendum on RJ's career. Now we see still struggling on the road. Let's talk specifically about that Miami game, but what are your impressions of how RJ needs to play? Because he kind of oscillates from being the main guy, ball dominant, to when Scotty's back for those 9-10 games, you got to find a role, and now he's back to that main guy kind of role and kind of struggled last game.
It's tough for him because he keeps, as you said, he keeps changing roles. And a couple of interesting things hit me right after the New York game. First of all, listening to Coach Thibodeau speak, and I think you and I spoke about this when we talked on the scoreboard pregame. Coach Tibbs said, we knew RJ was going to be a good player. We know he's a good player. He's just had the chance to play and improve. And the other part of it was when RJ came out of the locker room and I was leaving and I ran into him, I said, man, Scotty, he goes, I know, here we go, back and forth. And I think he was referring to his own situation where he said, he intimated that he was just kind of getting used to Scotty being back and having a little bit of freedom not to be the main ball handler all the time. He didn't say this. It's just what I implied, what I inferred.
That's why you're here, man. We got to get your insights.
And he's now back to being the main guy. And I think he does a good job. I think the turnovers are a result of things that execution turnovers.
It's growth. I mean, it's a trip dub. It's an inefficient trip dub, but it is something that you probably wouldn't have seen from him in years past, Sherman.
Yeah, and it also speaks to his ability beyond just scoring, how he can help the team.
Yes.
Now, the volume of ball handling, okay, it's an adjustment period again. It's not like it's just supposed to happen, so the turnovers are there. But as he continues, as we saw when Scotty was out before, as he continues to get the reps with more of the load of playmaking and initiating the play, you'll see the turnovers go down.
Yeah.
But to me, the interesting thing about RJ is, and I say this about guys who know how to win.
Yeah.
When they don't have their best stuff, how good of a teammate are they? How much can they provide in those moments? And RJ didn't have his best offensive stuff in terms of scoring the basketball, but he rebounded, he assisted, he did so many other things, and that to me shows his skill set.
It's funny you say that because it reminds me of a guy who didn't have that kind of game last night, but who was on the floor, Jimmy Butler, right? You wouldn't have expected before Philly and a couple of other places, maybe even before Minnesota, that Jimmy would be that kind of guy. But RJ's got a little bit of that in him.
He's got, well, I guess the term is gravity.
Yeah.
Right? It's what happens when he's on the floor and he has the ball or he's in the mix or there's a potential for him to come off a dribble handoff with Jakob Poeltl. People open up, their eyes open up, and they say, wait a minute, this guy can hurt us. And I think, you talk about Jimmy Butler the same way. And going back to where I started, when RJ and Scotty are on the floor together, each of them has their own pull. Each of them has the gravity where there can be plays made or you've got to be aware of them, and it makes other people better. Without Scotty, it's all RJ, and he's at the top of the scouting report, and he's going to figure it out. I mean, I think he's done a good job. Like, people are, all over this home road, whatever. Hey, they were down. They were up 16, down 20, ended up losing by 10. It was just the flow of the game.
And the numbers balance out. He's doing good overall throughout the season if you just, measure it how you measure it instead of home and away. Now, let's talk about another part of this weird here, which is we talked about Scotty being in and out, but we also got IQ out. We've got lots of guys who've been out, and that obviously causes opportunity. Gradey Dick, amazing through that first stretch when he was getting the opportunity to get the minutes, took a step back, not in play, but in terms of pecking order when Scotty returned. Now you saw him against Miami, Sherm. My impressions of what Gradey needs to do to kind of keep this energy in his game when Scotty's around? Or is it can't be because there aren't enough shots?
Well, I don't think all of that can exist with the full lineup for the Raptors.
Yeah.
What we saw from Gradey in the first quarter was the full display of how good the kid can be.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the shot. He's getting to the basket in transition. He's dunking it. He had the up and under step through from the free throw line.
GD stood for goddamn.
Yeah, completely in his bag with all that he could do. those are moments that Gradey can take advantage of. When the full lineup is there and Scotty's there, he's not going to handle the ball as much. He's probably going to be playing off of movement and what the defense takes away from a guy like Scotty and a guy like RJ, he's going to be the recipient of. But I just think that Gradey, like RJ, is trying to figure out the balance. When guys like Scotty aren't in the lineup, I get all these opportunities. How do I spread it out over 4 quarters? Because he had a great first quarter. Yeah. Then he just kind of floated the rest of the game in terms of production. But he's got to find a balance like RJ has to find a balance. It's not easy to do. When a guy that has that kind of influence on the game like Scotty's out of the lineup, all of a sudden everything shifts. It's like a whole shift of power.
Yeah.
And you've got to understand how to balance it. And it takes some time, but they'll be fine.
Before I get your thoughts on this, because there's going to be plenty of opportunities to talk to you about Gradey Dick, I just want to point out that I make producer Jake break character and laugh. And I also want to say, let's talk about this Heat for a little bit, because big news with the Jimmy trade.
Yeah.
And then he comes out, kind of goose egg, but also, are they signaling that it is time for them to move forward with Bam and Tyler? Because that's a huge decision for Pat Riley's front office to make.
I think Tyler is in that situation where Sherm talked about Gradey, where other people have the gravity, and you're looking to balance it out.
So Jimmy's eating off Tyler's plate.
Well, Tyler was eating off Jimmy's plate, right? And now that Jimmy may be gone, to continue your analogy, Tyler's like, okay, well, I can cook.
Yeah.
Right? Like
let him cook.
I can fish. And it's the same kind of thing with Gradey. It's a situation where the kid shows how good he is, and when he gets the opportunity, he produces. So it's like, I'm just waiting for my chance here, right? 1, 2, 3, and you want the other team to think, oh man, don't forget about that third guy, because he can really hurt you. And I think Tyler Herro has elevated himself in that pecking order.
I like how you work your Gradey answer back into that after I stopped you. Well done. Sure.
Well, you're making producer Jeff break character.
Jake. It's Jake. No, okay?
Oh, it's Jake.
Listen, Shane.
The guy's been around for a while?
Shane, let me talk to you for a second quick. I just want to throw this one at you. Bam Adebayo shooting the most threes he's ever had, like in total this year, greater than his career total. Is he ready for that next step that Riley's kind of setting up for him?
Whether he is or not, they want him to take that step.
Yeah, that's a big step. They're thinking 1A.
Step, but it's not like he can't shoot a 3. It's probably going to take him a while before it becomes more second nature, but that's what bigs are doing, and he's an undersized big, so it kind of fits for him to be able to shoot the 3. I think he's been a bit resistant, my personal opinion, to this point.
But it's styles, right? Like, does everyone...
But he eased into it this summer on the Olympic team, where the line was a little shorter. He was around all those guys, Booker, LeBron, Steph. They're all shooting the threes. He's like, okay, well, let me try a couple of these too.
Oh, well, you know who tried something? Ochai Agbaji tried a nasty dunk.
Oh, he didn't try.
He executed. Do or do not, there is no try. He did.
He did the thing.
One of the recipients was his own teammate, Jakob Poeltl. So, unfortunately for Yak, he's on an Ochai poster, or fortunately, Jake or Jeff, hit him with the video, because Sherm, you have something you want to point out right now.
Well, a couple things. Number one, I wish Ochai got in Yak's face and said, yeah, take that. But a couple things. Number one, Bam Adebayo, this is a flagrant foul. When you push a player into an airborne player's path like that, if Ochai Agbaji tumbles over Jakob and can land on his head or something like that, I think we see a different call.
Yes.
That, to me, is a flagrant foul, regardless of the outcome of the player who took off. That's a very dangerous play.
It reminds me of dunking on your own guy. You know, in the social media videos where they hold the rim up, all of a sudden, boom, you get dunked on.
I've been doing that to my cousins for years.
There you go.
All right, well, the foul was flagrant. The dunk was too. Shouts out to producer Jeff, a.k.a. Jake. We'll be back with more. Hold on, wait. We going to some tape, some sound? Okay, we're checking with the players right now.
Ochai, if you could just break down the game, what happened. You guys came out very strong, and then Miami made a lot of runs. So, but what did you see out there?
I think, obviously we controlled their three-point shooting early on. They're kind of limiting their looks and limiting their makes early on, and obviously we were controlling the pace and pushing it and sharing the ball well, and obviously getting stops, getting rebounds. What I think really opened up for them was hitting late in that second quarter. I think they hit like 2 or 3 threes back to back, and kind of set them up going into the next half, kind of seeing those open opportunities. So I think that's kind of where the game shifted. I mean, this is our first game kind of back to not having Scotty in the rotation, and it's not like we haven't played with him, so it's kind of getting back to that and adjusting in that way, and adjusting things here and there that he brings to the game that that we're just missing obviously with him out. So it'll be interesting to see going back and kind of seeing what we do and seeing what we do for next game.
There's a lineup where you, Ochai, Mobo were out there, and then it was clear that the team demanded defense.
Yeah.
You guys were able to stop or put a halt to Miami's run despite trailing them. What did you see out there in that moment?
I think we all can guard. I think 1 through 4, 1 through 5 sometimes. Well, everyone guard 1 through 5. I think I can guard 1 through 5 too. So we kind of switched it. We kind of made them stagnant. We made them play one-on-one. Kind of slowed it down because they was getting downhill, passing the ball, shooting threes. Making them one more. That's a really good team. I mean, they played together for a minute, so they kind of know each other's tendencies and what they like to do. So we switched it, and I think that's what made them a little bit stagnant.
What did you see tonight from your guys in terms of, it's a really strong start. Where did you guys feel like you kind of lost control?
We had really good energy. We knew they was going to run. I feel like we didn't stop that run early enough. They hit too many threes. Too many wide open threes. Then they start getting in the paint, and it just went downhill from there. We tried to catch up. We made a little run in the fourth, but it was too late then.
It's Damon Stoudemire, and thanks for watching the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel. Check out our latest videos and subscribe for more.
Stoudemire launches a three, knocks it in. Stoudemire. Yes! What a